Welcome to Nourish with Michelle Fox, your guide to a vibrant life. If consistency's been a challenge for you and you occasionally forget self-care, you, my friend, are in the right place. Tune in for weekly inspiration to nourish your mind. I know your plate's full, and I want to help you support a life and a body that you adore. Let's dig in. Today, I am so honored to be joined by the Kandice Porter. I see her as the queen of storytelling, and I'll read a little bit of her bio in a moment. But if you haven't heard, this is our last episode of this season because Mama, that's me, is about to hit the pause button. I have talked to Steve and the family, and we have decided it is in my best interest, which means, of course, in their best interest, for me to take a sabbatical. So I am truly excited, among a million other emotions, about taking a sabbatical between March 15th and April 15th. So I will be completely unplugged. And so with that decision, it came very easily. Well, that's probably not the word. I will say the decision flowed because my word for 2024 is alignment. So it felt very much in alignment to say goodbye to Nourish with Michelle Fox for now. And we'll see what comes out of this sabbatical. It could be I come back with a million more amazing ideas for this podcast. It could mean we hit the pause button for a couple months, couple years. What I do know and what I can say is that I'm very clear that I am walking into this sabbatical and this pause button with just an air of curiosity, a curiosity of what God has in store for me and for the people that I serve. And so with that, I thought it would be an amazing, amazing get if Kandice Porter would help me to tell my story. And she said yes. So she's here. So let me tell you a little bit about my friend, KP. Not only is she a truly incredible friend, but she is a dynamic speaker, a coach, a workshop facilitator, and she is passionate about empowering Black women to share their stories and amplify their voices. With a deep understanding of the power of storytelling, Kandice is dedicated to helping Black women step into the spotlight and reach bigger audiences. Kandice is a champion for Black women. And so, yes, just all the yeses of why she is here today to help me share my story with you, because I want to lead with gratitude because you, listener, have been a part of my community, whether this is your first episode or you've been with us for all 80 plus episodes. I am so grateful for you. And so I only wanted the best to give us the white glove treatment in saying goodbye for now. So Kandice Porter, welcome to the show.
Oh, Michelle, thank you so much for having me. You have no idea how much this means to me and just to be here at this time for you. It means a lot. It means a lot. And I'm so grateful to be here to talk through this transition.
Thank you for using that word.
Absolutely.
Yes,
It's a transition. Mhm.
It's also the perfect word to lead into playing a rapid fire game. Are you
Mm.
game?
Come on, rapid fire.
All right.
Come on,
I,
rapid.
I think I know the answer to this one, but
This
I'm
one.
open for surprises.
Okay.
So, quick questions, quick answers. I don't know. Are you up for it?
I'm so ready.
Okay, let's do
I'm
it.
so ready. Ooh.
Cats or dogs?
Cat. Ooh. Neither.
That was a surprise. Okay, moving on to the next. If you had to pick from French fries, ice cream, or apple pie?
French fries all day.
Oh, that was an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Last but not least, would you be willing to share with us a story from your childhood in the kitchen?
Ooh, in the kitchen. Let me think about in the kitchen. You know, the best that I could think about with being in the kitchen as a child, I was the baby girl.
Mm.
So I don't really, they didn't let me in the kitchen much. They were like, Candice, get out.
And you say baby, baby from how many?
Two.
Okay.
So I have two older sisters.
Okay.
And so I don't think there was really an opportunity to like be in the kitchen much.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
my thoughts about the kitchen or my memories of the kitchen are just it not being a part of.
Part of the cooking part of the being in the
Mm-mm.
kitchen.
And even until today, I'm still not
Mm,
good.
mm. Okay, fair
So
enough.
good.
Fair enough. Well, thank you
Oh,
for the giggles. I needed that
absolutely.
as I
Yes.
like
Move in.
energetically, it feels like I'm like, you're gonna be peeling the fingers off of the microphone for
That's
me
right.
because
I know. I know. I know.
I am passing you the baton. Where should we
Absolutely. Oh,
begin?
Michelle. I want to begin first by just, like you said, you want to lead with gratitude. And I think that's very important because you have served your audience for such a long time. Actually, it looks like since September 13th, 2022, if I'm correct.
You've
Yes,
done their
a
homework.
girl who did their research. I did. And so
Nicely
it looks
done.
like yes. And you had a little bit of a rebranding last year, but it looks like you started with something called Healthy Sexy Nutrition.
Ding, ding, ding.
Mm-hmm.
For the win. Nicely
Yes.
done.
So
Yes.
healthy, sexy nutrition. And so I just we really cannot talk about where we're going until we talk about where we've been, right?
Mm,
And so I
mm,
just want to take a little bit of time to talk through how you feel right now and how this has brought you so much gratitude and so much joy in the time that you were serving. So can we start with gratitude? What would you
mm,
like to say and just your from your heart of gratitude? What are you feeling right now in regards to that?
mm. Thank you so much
Hmm.
for asking.
Absolutely.
So, yes, I am entirely grateful for this community. And I want to be clear on who I mean when I say community. So that
Hmm.
means my listeners,
Absolutely.
that means my friends,
Sure.
yourself included, who have
Yes.
held my hand through a lot
Mhm.
of the tough times, but
Mm.
also have held my hand celebrating a lot of the
Yes.
great times.
Absolutely.
That community includes Steve, my
Mhm.
husband, who's been just an
Absolutely.
amazing rock of support and letting me be as creative as I want to be, as
Mhm.
I've explored different conversations
Yeah.
and just knowing that I have the safety of his love and protection. It's helped
Mhm.
me kind of push some boundaries and some conversations that
Mhm.
I felt like he'd be completely open. And so that
Mm.
has been an amazing piece of the community. Um, my mom, she was on the show, but she was also, and I shouldn't say past tense because she's probably watching this as well, but she has been my number one fan. Like almost
Yes.
after every single episode, she'll call to let me know, well, maybe this person needs this, or, I have these resources here. And then, of course, my community on social media, the people
Yes.
who have made beautiful comments on the post when I'd let people know what's
Absolutely.
coming up. And so, Candice, I have to say, I have felt so held by this community
Yes.
of women and of men.
Mhm.
It's been a really beautiful journey.
Yes, it really has been a beautiful journey. And I want to talk about the journey. So thank you so much for segueing into that. I
Mhm.
want to talk about when you first started and when you said, you want to know what? This is something that I want to talk to people about and why it was so important for you. So can you tell us what started you with this podcasting at all?
Mm. So, as you were saying that, I got this flashback from
Mhm.
high school.
Mm.
I was a super nerd and I was really proud of it. And I
You
still
should
am.
be.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Please do. Yes.
Thank you. And with that, though, came with this idea of hyperachievement. So I
Mm.
was captain of the cheerleading team. I was president of the National Honor Society. I was captain of the track and field team. Like I could go on and I won't because part of it feels a little braggadocious, and that's
That's good.
definitely
And
not
you
how
should
I
do
feel
that.
right now.
You should feel that way.
Well, well, I guess my point in bringing this up, of course, being the firstborn as well, I think hyperachievement often comes with being the firstborn.
Mm,
That's brought me to today where I'm like, it's not serving me anymore. Like I can see why I was such a hyperachiever then, and it's brought me to beautiful places.
absolutely.
But that Michelle doesn't make 51-year-old Michelle happy any longer. And so
Absolutely.
that's why I'm taking this time away. So painting that picture, but just to answer your question, I started this podcast almost 2 years ago because I was having conversations with my girlfriends that I wasn't hearing out in the interwebs or
Sure.
on the podcast. And I'm like, well, if we're talking about things like menopause and husbands who are going through addiction or
Yes,
children
yes,
leaving the nest, and
yes,
I'm like, where are these voices? I'm like, well,
yes.
I have a
You have a
voice.
voice.
I can bring these
Hmm.
conversations to the world and to my
Yeah.
community. And so that's really why and how I started this conversation. Because, oh, and another reason why I brought up the whole nerdiness as a kid is because I
Hmm.
didn't have a lot of close friendships growing up.
Okay.
And now as an adult, I have cultivated
Mm,
many friendships because it feeds a
mm,
certain need that I didn't have met when I was younger.
mm.
And this podcast has felt like a way to empower certain friendships,
Yes.
to create new friendships. But
Mm.
also, I sincerely feel like I'm friends with my listeners. Like the feedback that I
Yes.
get from them, and then I'm talking to them, like
Hmm.
feels like these are my new friends. And so that just, it's really served my heart to have
Mm.
this podcast. Mm.
You know, Michelle, there's all the things that you ticked off on are things that I can tick off as well. When you talk about having not serving you, things not serving you any longer, I can definitely speak to that as in 2022. So I
Mhm.
guess when you were starting your podcast, right? When you started in 22, 23.
I know I'm
I'm
bad with the
sorry.
math. I'm like,
Oh, I'm
like
sorry.
a year and a half ago was, so you're
22.
right. Was it
Yeah.
22?
Hmm.
Okay,
So
there
in
you go.
22, I was actually dissolving my business. So you were picking
Mm,
up this podcast as I was putting my business down. I had a business called Bonding to the Beat, and
mm,
I taught preschool music enrichment, and I
mm,
loved it. I was in about my ninth year, and but COVID happened.
mm,
And
mhm,
so it was just hard to continue that business when COVID came and wreaked havoc on it. But it's fine, right?
mm.
So I understand how it feels to have to dissolve and transition, you know?
Well, then, I know I
Hmm.
said I'd pass the mic, but as
Hmm.
soon
Yeah,
as you said
yeah,
that,
go
I'm like,
ahead.
what
Mhm.
were some of the immediate thoughts? And I know different circumstances, like
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
leaving more
Hmm.
personal choice versus
Hmm.
outside pandemic choice.
No, it's
But
okay.
what were some of the feelings that you were feeling once you knew it was time to move on?
My goodness. I was broken
Hmm.
and I grieved so hard. It
Hmm.
was literally like someone had took my baby from me.
Hmm.
You know, I was like, wait, this is my baby. Wait, my baby's sick. Like, oh my God. And so I had to, I had to let them take my sick baby.
I'm sorry.
And I grieved really hard, Michelle. I did. And I'm still grieving. Like
Sure.
I really can't say that I grieved because
It's ongoing.
it's ongoing.
I've got something special for you. Imagine having the roadmap to launch your own podcast, even if you're starting from scratch. Introducing my exclusive podcasting checklist, a step by step guide to building your show with confidence. Ready to dive in? Head over to michellefox.com/podcast and claim your checklist. It's the ultimate tool for turning your podcasting dreams into reality. Whether you've got the next big idea or you just want to see if this podcasting thing is for you, this checklist is your key to success. The world is ready for your voice, my friend. Visit michellefox.com/podcast, grab your checklist, and let's make your podcasting dreams come true.
And so I felt like, Candice, don't let shame, or don't let shame creep in because it was out of your control.
Yeah.
You didn't have a choice. You had to, but it just didn't serve me anymore. Even when I tried to maneuver and make different moves with it, it just didn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't serve me.
And I know you are a spiritual
Mm-hmm.
person, as
Yes.
I am.
Yes.
And so oftentimes when these big things happen, like for
Mm-hmm.
you that felt out of your
Mm-hmm.
control,
Mm-hmm.
and then for me, like this
Mm-hmm.
feels very big, just as far
Mm-hmm.
as me making new life
It
choices
is.
and new
Mm-hmm.
business choices.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes I see that as co-creation, like something's happening in
Mm-hmm.
our heart. And also, I'm so clear that God has a bigger
Oh my
plan for us.
goodness. Oh, we wouldn't be here right now. Like
Mm.
I literally started serving at a different capacity at the same
Hmm.
time that my business was transitioning. It was a co-creation,
Mm.
literally a co-creation. So people are like, wait, you just put this business down and now you're starting a new one? I was like, well, it wasn't my thought. I'm just kind of here now. But I get it. Like, I get it. I was like, okay, I needed to. Oh, this is what I said.
Yeah.
I was literally going through birth. I was birthing something at the same time that
Hmm.
something was dying. Mm-hmm.
Mm. Oh, that got me right
Mm-hmm.
in my
Yeah.
core because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I feel right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm letting go of the way I've been doing business. And
Mm-hmm.
even though I don't know what my next steps are,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like I'm just so encouraged, especially, and it
Yes,
helped to see examples like you
absolutely.
and other women in our circle who
True.
are following the
Mm-hmm.
voice,
Yeah.
whether it's internal and
Yeah.
or God's voice. You're
Absolutely.
following your path.
Yeah.
And then I'll also say selfishly that
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have known you. We wouldn't have been friends if
We
this
wouldn't
didn't
have.
happen to you, right?
We wouldn't have.
So selfishly, I'm so grateful
Yes, I know. Me too. I am
because I
too.
love our friendship.
Me too, Michelle. And that's why
Mhm.
it's important for us to use our voices because if I never did that, or if you never like came on here, first of all, you would have left your audience hanging. But we knew that
We're
Michelle's
not
not
going to
going to
do
go
that.
out like that.
Mm-mm.
But also there is someone out there, right, who may be in the same position as you, Michelle. I don't really know what to do. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know, but I know that I have to make this step right now.
Yes. Thank you for saying that.
And if it wasn't for you coming on and saying this and being open for your audience, then how would they know that it's okay to take a little bit of a pause?
Thank you for intuiting that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because, yes, that is truly
Mm-hmm.
my goal
Yeah.
in sharing my story
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
living out loud. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, with this sabbatical, I will
Yes.
be absent from social media as well.
Okay.
However, I've been on socials living out loud a little over 10 years now. And
See,
so I feel like
you
I've
deserve
given
it.
plenty.
Yeah,
Yes. And by the way, if you're missing me, just go to any of my socials at Michelle
that's
Talks Love
right.
and I'll be there for you.
Absolutely. You'll be right there.
Yes, yes,
You'll be right there. And
yes.
and a couple of things also that we also had in common that, we both have husbands who are, working their way through addiction. And not only that, but empty nest, right? So then we also have, well,
Mhm.
I'm sorry. No, I can't. No.
I'm almost there. I've got 2 more years. My
I
girls will
was
be gone.
I was thinking about me.
Oh,
I'm nowhere near
that's
empty
what
nest.
I'm like, because your babies are young. I'm like, maybe this is from another.
Never mind.
Okay, got it. But
But we did have
maybe,
one leave.
and maybe you channeled that because I truly am grieving that my 17-year-old daughters don't really need me right now. Like,
Oh
well,
my
quote
goodness.
unquote need.
Yeah,
They
quote
they need me
unquote.
in different ways.
It's
I'm
it's a
aware
different,
of.
it is different, but
Yeah,
it is different from what you're used to. And so
yeah,
you're just in transition.
beautiful.
That's
Yeah,
all.
we
You're
keep
just in
coming back to that.
transition.
Maybe that'll be our new
Uh-huh.
title for this podcast:
Hey, it is.
Woman in Transition.
You're in transition, and
I
that's it.
am.
Now, while we're talking about transition, we already know that we led with gratitude. I want to talk about some of the highlights, okay?
Mm,
So let's talk through some of the highlights. I want to talk through some of what were your favorite episodes
mm,
and why. I want to know why
why?
those were your good ones. And
Yeah.
I know that that's hard because you've had out of over 75 episodes, number one, it's going to be hard to just like pick and choose. I, so I guess without putting the pressure on you too much, overall,
Mm,
what were your favorites and why did they give you that feeling?
hmm. Thank you for the disclaimer. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I need to do a
Mm-hmm.
double, triple disclaimer just because I have
Yes,
been so grateful for all of my guests for
sure.
sharing their time and their
Mm-hmm.
wisdom with
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm still human. So, of course, there were certain episodes that I loved, and
Yeah,
certain episodes I was like, we'll, we'll,
it was
we'll
all
share
right.
this because maybe somebody needed to hear this
Mhm.
today.
It was all right. It
Right?
was all right.
So, with that, I would say, because maybe it's more fresh, the interview with Amber Simon, where we talked about sensual pleasure. Oh my gosh, she held nothing back. And I felt so held by her to talk about sex and intimacy, whether you're
Mhm.
partnered or by yourself, and how our
Yes.
bodies have changed after the age of
Mhm.
40. And like, that was just a fire episode. Let me see if I wrote down
I
the
love it.
episode. Oh, that was episode number 70. So
Okay.
I took notes there.
Mhm. Mhm.
You mentioned about both of our husbands
Mhm.
living with addiction, which means
Mhm.
you and I are also living
Yeah,
with addiction.
that's right. That's right.
And
That's right.
so Steve came on twice.
Love.
Episode 45 was the most recent, I think. Maybe that was
Mhm.
his first.
Mhm.
Either way, I just thought it was so brave of him. So again, he held
Mhm.
nothing back. He shared
Yes.
his journey. We shared our journey together.
Absolutely.
I just thought that took a lot of courage. And
Yeah.
I think he was my first male voice on the
Beautiful.
podcast. And so that was a fun treat as
Absolutely.
well.
That is a treat.
Yes. A popular one that was very healing to me was episode 42. That
Mhm.
was Michelle Santo, and she helped tap for food freedom. So it's the EFT tapping, as I'm like, if you're watching us on YouTube, it's like we're tapping our head, we're
Yeah.
tapping here, like it's a whole
Yes.
thing. And that was very soothing to my nervous
Mhm.
system. So I really love that episode.
Absolutely. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah,
And
you
then there was, yeah, I have like a ton more notes, but I actually don't want to,
mhm.
again, I don't want to leave anybody out, but
I
please
know.
no former guests. I've got a whole list. And so you're probably on here because I have truly just, I've been so grateful for
Yes.
everybody who came on this show.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you did talk about the tapping, and that was going to ask you about that. Like, what
Okay.
were some of the topics that resonated with you? Some of your top topics, like you said, with Amber, and then about the tapping, but were there any others that you walked away from like, wow, I really feel like that not only helped my audience, but also helped me?
Yes.
Hmm.
I Yes. So Megan Teltner, she was my teacher for culinary nutrition. In fact,
Great.
I went to her academy to get certified, and her team reached out during her time of transition where she actually left nutrition.
Okay.
And you would have thought I won the lotto. OMG. Candace, when I got that email, I was like one of those,
Yes,
like I have
yes.
got to be Megan Teltner. As I'm sharing
Oh.
that with Steve, he's like, well, remember you put her on your vision board last year. I'm like,
Hmm.
thank you, partner. And so,
Yes.
yes, that was a co-creation. So not only was I so excited to have her on the show because of my admiration of her, but her message of how she decided that she was making a transition, like the whole time I was like,
Oh my
that
goodness.
gives me so much more permission to
Absolutely.
listen to my voice and listen to how I wanted to create my current profession. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah, that was just a beautiful gift all
I
the way
love
around.
it. I love it. There's
Yeah,
nothing like it when you those situations that happen and you're like, whoa, this really happened for me. This
exactly.
happened just for me. And I love that because it is it's just so important to know that you're still on God's mind for me. Like, oh, thank you.
Mm.
You did that for me. I
Mhm.
appreciate that. So I get that. So thank you for sharing that with me. So I
Mhm.
want to talk a little bit about our experience when we were at Sister Biz. And
Mhm.
I walked up to my girl, Michelle, and I noticed that she was not necessarily herself. And she thought she would get away with just asking me how I was doing.
I really did.
But I have a very strong gift of discernment. I noticed that she just was not herself that day. And so in the middle of me talking, I was like, girl, no, how are you feeling? And all she did was just shake her head, no. And I knew that something was happening internally and deeply because we were just in this place where we were getting filled to capacity and I'm not saying that that wasn't happening for you, Michelle, but it was just different. And I knew that something deeper was going on. So without trying to prod you and poke and prod, like, girl, what's wrong? What's wrong? Is it the kids? What is it? I just gave you space, but also embraced, right? To let you know that you were supported and that whatever was going on, that it would be okay. So I want to talk through the pausing
Mm.
and I want to talk through that this isn't just something that you decided a couple days ago, but that it was something that had been on you for about 13 months now,
Mhm. Mm.
which is also the day
Mm.
that you started your podcast, the 13th. So,
Oh, you're good. You are
mhm,
so good.
mhm. So I want to know
Ooh.
how now 13 months later, we're coming to a little bit of a pause. You said mama needs a break.
Mama needs a break. Yes. And in that
Mhm,
story, you're so
mhm,
graceful that you didn't
mhm.
share that I went into the ugly cry, as Oprah calls it.
It wasn't ugly to me.
And this embrace, you see these
Mhm,
beautiful shoulders just to held me until the
mhm.
sobbing
Yeah.
ended. And even
Mhm.
when it ended, I didn't have words, and Candace
Yeah.
just held space. So again,
Mhm.
I thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you for
Absolutely.
asking and looking into me deeper
Mhm.
than the surface that I was
Mhm.
trying to
Mhm.
show.
That's right. That's right.
So,
Mhm.
3 months after that experience, what I know now is that Candace and I were with Sister Biz at Gold Digger, and
Mhm.
there were all these amazing spirits just
Yeah.
talking about their financial success and
Mhm.
business success. And then we were learning these tools to, scale our businesses. And I mean, it was amazing. Like the energy in
Mhm.
the room was palpable.
Yes.
And it
And
felt like a fissure. Like I was
mhm.
here in the yumminess of the energy, but I was
Mhm.
also here, not yet giving myself permission to say,
Mm.
I'm no longer in love with my business.
Mm.
And I couldn't do it in that space. And so I know as soon as you looked into my soul and I was able to release, I'm like, oh, like that was a nice release. But even then, like it's taken almost
Mhm.
3 months now that I had the
Yeah.
words. And so
Mhm.
what's come to me now is, well, what I can say, what I know for sure is that I am absolutely in love with my international wellness retreats. And I love pampering other women. And at the time of this posting of this recording, I will be in Costa Rica. Like I'm counting down the days as we sit here
Costa Rica.
recording. Yes, and just a
Mhm.
little plug there for my friends who are listening. If you want to get
Mhm.
on the wait list for
Mhm.
the September retreat and then the next
Beautiful.
March retreat, just go to michellefox.com/retreat and you will be one of the first to know of the next
Mhm.
one. But yeah, the time to pause. It's been talking to a therapist, it's been talking to a business coach, it's been talking to this community of friends I mentioned earlier. I feel like the only reason I can't call myself a broken record is because I think you all have heard the same story, but
Mhm.
I'm not telling the same person the same story over and over. And so
That's right.
in that, it's just been healing that God's given me all these different
Mm.
mirrors to say, Michelle, it's okay.
It's
Like,
okay.
it's okay. I have been
Mhm.
working since the age of 12 when I was babysitting. And then at 13, I would ride my bike to Walmart where I worked in the snack shop at the age of 13. And from then on, 12 to the age of 51, I have been working almost every single day. And so when I say I am tired, I am tired.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I want these next steps for this next part of my life to be
Mm.
more intentional.
Sure.
I don't want this busyness and just doing because I'm making other people happy. Like I'm
Mm.
ready just to take a moment to see
Mm.
what makes me happy.
Yes.
And so that's the part that gets me really excited
And it
about
should. It
this next
should.
step.
Michelle, not only that, but you're a wife, you're a mommy, you're a dog mommy,
Thank you for Chloe Dogs.
mhm, a,
Shout out.
a business owner, and all of those things. You're a daughter, you're a sister, you're a community advocate. You are the things,
Mm,
right?
mhm.
When we are all the things, it makes it hard to be all the things for us, right?
Yes,
And not to mention, we love to be those things.
absolutely.
I'll say it again. We love to be those things. Okay. But we're also being sucked dry. Okay. If you don't know how it feels to have a husband and you have to walk through his sobriety with him as wives, that's hard. Okay. Because we carry our own things, right? If you don't know how it is to be a mother, right, to teenagers, that's not easy. If you don't know how it feels when you're in entrepreneurship and you're hearing all these beautiful success stories, right? But you're like, I don't even know if I want my business anymore. I don't even know if I'm going for me. That was for me. I was like, man, I don't even know if I'm going in the right direction. I don't know what's going on. To recognize that, Michelle, and then to say, I need to pause. I don't want to just skip past the fact that you put yourself on a pause because it's hard being all of those things, Michelle.
Mm,
But the fact that you said, I've done for everybody else, mama needs a break.
thank you.
I'm so grateful that you are showing your community and others that when you feel like you are being depleted, you need to pause. You need to make sure that you have the things in order to pause. So I want to thank you for being an example of truly nourishing yourself in that
Mm,
way.
mm, thank you. Ah, I'm just taking that in
Mm.
because it is very easy for me to forget.
Yeah.
Like it's very easy for me to be self-critical
Mm-hmm.
and tell myself we can do it just a little bit more, a little bit more. And
Mm-mm.
my spirits finally said, no,
No,
we've done enough for now.
we're good right
We're
now.
good right now. Mhm.
And to know that you're going to be doing what you love, which is serving women on a retreat, right? You're going to be doing what you love. But Michelle, I want you to still make sure that even when you're gone, that you are still taking care of yourself
Mm,
because you are still on pause.
thank you.
Absolutely. I don't know how much time we have left. What are we
I
here?
know. I think it is time to wind down. And
Is
while
it?
you look at your notes, of course, the firstborn in me just wants to highlight some of the fun
Please.
numbers
Mm-hmm.
pieces. So
Mm-hmm.
we have reached over 10,000 downloads on this show.
Oh,
So I feel so proud of that.
yes.
And as I'm reading these notes, it just hit me.
Mhm.
I would be remiss not to thank another piece of my community, which are my teammates. And so Shirley Lynn, she's no longer on my team right now, but she has done an amazing job with my graphics through the time. She was my ride or die in the beginning, just helping me get the podcast going. She just jumped right in. And so,
Yes.
so grateful. And shout out to Shirley Lynn.
out.
And then our current podcast manager, who is Brittany McCrae.
Mm.
She's incredible. She makes
Yes.
really wonderful, intuitive decisions when she's doing
Mhm.
the audio editing. And
Beautiful.
so I've been so grateful to have her on the team.
Absolutely.
But numbers wise, our demographics were I say only, but
Mhm.
only 83% female. And I say it
Okay.
that way because when I'm talking to my friends, I
Mhm.
just assume we're all females. And so that gives
Sure.
me, of course, that extra level of
Mhm.
comfort to say what I want. But it
Mhm.
also, I love that that means that's what, doing the math, that's 17% men. So that
That's
tells me
right.
they're learning something as
They're
well.
learning as well. Absolutely.
So that's been amazing. Our top markets have been Denver, New York, and San Diego.
Ooh, come on, Denver, New York, and San Diego.
Right. And I
Hmm.
think that's probably it. I'm reading some notes from my media kit, and some of this is with socials, but just for the podcast, that's been just fun to highlight our growth and
Absolutely.
just knowing that the people are listening. People
Absolutely.
feel like they're part of this Nourish community. I'm so grateful
Absolutely.
for that. I cannot stop
Mhm.
saying how grateful I am for
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. And so, as we are getting ready to close, I did just want to give you the definition of nourish. Okay. So,
Okay.
I'm going to give you two definitions.
Okay.
The first one is provide with food or other substance necessary for growth.
Mm.
Okay. That's the one that we all know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then we also have nourish, a feeling or belief in one's mind, typically for a long time.
Oh.
Okay.
Mm.
So, as you are pausing, as you were saying goodbye for just a little bit, we know that this Nourish podcast is something that typically is going to stay in one's mind for a long time. That's the beauty of podcasting and digital media. It stays around for a very long time. Some of the testimonials that I was able to read is that Michelle brings all the joy and energy to healthy eating. I love her energy. Thanks for sharing your energy. I appreciate that her wisdom comes in bite-sized, gentle reminders. So, as we go through this transition, I want to gently remind you that I believe that God has things in your future that are beyond what you could ever think or imagine. So I
Thank
am
you.
so very grateful
Thank you.
to have been here to help you celebrate this transition, because we celebrate the fact that self-care is taking precedence over our everyday normal life. We are definitely celebrating that. And we celebrate you. We celebrate you, Michelle, for over 75 episodes, weekly episodes of consistency, of knowledge, of wisdom, of care, of concern. We thank you for all that you've done for your Nourish community. So,
KP,
yes.
Kandice Porter.
We celebrate
you.
you.
Thank you.
We do. We celebrate you and we thank you for being the example for when you need to pause, you better pause.
Mm. Mm. Okay, that's it. Well, you asked me in the beginning, one of my favorite episodes. This happens to be now just reached the number one.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
So thank you,
You're
my
so
friend. Thank you,
welcome.
thank you. And
Mhm.
you see, listeners and my community and my friends, why I asked this powerhouse storyteller to
Mm.
help me say goodbye and
Yeah.
or pause for now. And so, Candace, I know people will need and want more KP. Where can they find you?
Oh my goodness. You guys can find me on the socials. I am under Candice, Kandicel Porter. And, there we're doing some really beautiful work for Black women sharing their stories. And we just struggle with that. And so to find a space where we feel safe and to be able to just share our truth beautifully is what I love to do. And so that is where you can find me, or you can find me at www.feelingwell.com. And that is where you'll find my business, The Feeling Well, a space for sisters and their stories.
I feel absolutely filled. So thank you.
You're so
And
welcome.
thank you to
Mm,
my listeners, to my community.
yeah.
Like I said, this is goodbye for
Mhm.
now. If you want to stay in community, which I really hope you
Yeah.
do, please join my email list. It's michellefox.com/community. And as I mentioned earlier, if you want to get on our wait list for the retreat,
Mhm.
michellefox.com/retreat, and you'll get on our list that way as well. Is there anything I'm missing? Anything you wanted to add before we go?
I think that we have covered it all.
My heart feels very full.
Mine too.
Thank
Mine
you.
too. Thank you. This has
Mhm.
been an honor. Mhm. An honor. Thank you.